On February 28, 2026, decades of a tense proxy Cold War between these two rival nations finally shattered into direct, hot conflict. This map shows the scale of the opening offensive. 900 direct strikes executed in a single 24-hour window. The strikes targeted Iran's top military and political leadership, creating an immediate command vacuum in Tehran. The offensive maintained its momentum throughout the month, eventually hitting over 11,000 targets across the country. The era of shadowboxing is over. The resulting tension vacuum has collapsed into an active war zone that is forcibly reordering the global geopolitical landscape. Three systemic forces made this war inevitable. First was the imminent global fear that Iran was finally crossing the threshold to construct a functional nuclear device. Second was the zero-sum game for regional dominance between the U.S.-aligned coalition and Iran's axis of influence. And finally, after decades of severe economic sanctions and proxy friction, the system of deterrence simply failed. In the wake of the initial strikes, Iran mobilized its heavy hardware and shifted to an aggressive, kinetic retaliation. They launched massive, synchronized barrages of drones and ballistic missiles, targeting U.S. military bases and critical infrastructure across the Gulf states. These three pressures acted like a sealed boiler. Once the first strike landed, a massive, region-wide retaliation became the likely next step on the escalation ladder. The conflict immediately breached international borders, pulling neighboring nations into the gravitational pull of the war. Israel found itself managing a high-attrition defense scenario, tracking and intercepting thousands of incoming projectiles. Simultaneously, Lebanon-based proxy groups activated, opening a volatile northern front that stretched defensive resources to their limits. Further south, Yemen's Houthi rebels entered the conflict, turning the Red Sea corridor into an active and lethal combat theater. In response, the United States deployed an aircraft carrier strike group to the region in an attempt to contain the surging proxy networks. The conflict has evolved into a highly interconnected, multi-front war with a dozen active participants. But the impact of this war reaches far beyond the battlefield. The economic shockwave is already designed to hit civilian wallets worldwide. This narrow waterway is the Strait of Hormuz, the single most critical choke point for the planet's daily oil supply. When instability threatened this route, global oil prices saw an immediate 50% spike. That price action was driven by direct kinetic attacks on commercial shipping vessels, effectively paralyzing the transit route. When energy costs rise this sharply, they trigger rampant domestic inflation and severely destabilize global financial markets. In a hyper-connected global economy, a regional war in the Middle East functions as an unavoidable, crushing tax on every citizen on Earth. This leads to the ultimate question. Does this web of alliances guarantee the outbreak of World War III? Right now, frantic back-channel diplomatic interventions are working to prevent that. Superpowers like China are actively trying to contain the blast radius, but the margin for error is thin. If one more major global power is pulled into a direct strike, containment fails completely. It highlights a stark paradox in our history. We program advanced AI and build rockets for Mars, yet remain locked in primitive, earth-bound destruction. Moving forward, the conflict will follow one of three paths: a breakthrough in peace talks, a grueling war of attrition, or a total regional explosion. Understanding the mechanics of geopolitics has become the essential lens for navigating the volatile future we are now entering.